From April 6th to May 8th, I'll either be substitute teaching or camping or running around collecting signatures to be a write in candidate on the June 2nd primary for the 42nd District of California running for Congress. That's because I wasn't willing to fork out the $3,500 to have my name added to the ballot. The 42nd District runs from the USS Iowa in Long Beach down to the Beachcomber Cafe in Orange County. That's past John Wayne Airport. It's mostly along the coast. If you're interested in making a donation, I now have the link active on my campaign website. The campaign website is philturek4congress.com, and there's a link there for support. It's a very simple form to fill in because this is a very low cost campaign. I'm not trying to do a lot. I'm trying to make connections with people to make a change as we go forward. For example, the Iran war is illegal. It was poorly thought about in the first place. There was no good reason for it other than maybe make profit for the people who make profit off of war. And that's about it. It needs to be stopped as quickly as possible. The damage done to the United States is pretty much irreparable, and the world order has been ruptured. We're going to be replaced as the empire going forward. As I go around on the campaign trail, what I'm really trying to do is to find people who are willing to do a little bit extra work towards reforming our form of government. It's behaving in a way where we should be withdrawing our consent to be governed by this. It doesn't have the moral values that we want to aspire to have for ourselves. I've been doing most of my posting on Instagram, and on Instagram, I've seen users like Brian Baez who made a claim that says, oh, the reason why the Senate fully caved into the Democrats recently about funding the Department of Homeland Security without resolving the issue with immigration and customs enforcement reforms is because of public pressure in the form of Delta Airlines suspending all the perks that they had been doling out for congressmen. In addition to that, TMZ, sort of a gossip magazine platform, asked its readers to send in photos of congressmen on vacation while TSA suffers without any funding. Another little interesting side note, back when TSA funding was threatened in the past, Congress set up funds to keep TSA going even if there were a government shutdown, because they recognized TSA was that important of a function. But over the years, Congress decided to raid that pot of money so that now TSA workers had to work without pay. Thanks, Congress. Another Instagram user, Chris C1 apparently, made some claims about how effective is it when people try to reach out to their congressman. And he had a map that he claimed was put together by staffers working for congressmen about what's effective, what's most effective. And as you might imagine, if you just add your name to a form letter and send that in, that doesn't get noticed. Or if at most it says, okay, there's one voter of interest. Phone calls are apparently the most effective influencer of all the different things that they listed. Like if you write a letter that counts, maybe worth like 70 voters to 100 voters. A phone call, they said, could be as much as 100 to 1,000 voters worth of influence. And so what this Instagram user was advocating was, okay, we should have a campaign of people phoning in. Now, I want to spin off on that and say, look, I've been advocating since August 23rd that we form bipartisan trios of people. 3 people Bipartisan means two members from the same political party as your representative and a third member from an opposition political party agreeing to go to the person's local office and say, look, we are in favor of, and you have to be specific. What are you in favor of? What is the change you want to see? There are so many reforms that are needed. You need to pick the one that you are most passionate about and come up with and recruit two other people in your congressional district who also have that as what they are most passionate about. For me, pretty simple. I believe that if we can ban gerrymandering nationwide, that will be a big step towards restoring political representation. It's not the only reform needed to do that. We need to adopt what California has done, where you have top two people in the primary get to go to the general election, not political party primaries, but one general primary. Ranked choice voting, all of those things, multi-member districts, all of those are forms just for the voting part of things. The SAVE Act is a horrible thing. That's just trying to make elections doubted, the outcome of an election. Gee, what happens if the current sitting president party, Republican Party, loses in the midterm elections coming up? Why, thanks to promoting the SAVE Act, whether it's shot down or not, it's planted the seed of doubt that's going to be nurtured and repeated over and over that says, ha, they didn't pass the SAVE Act because they knew there was corruption. That's the storyline. There are horrible things going on with our government right now. It doesn't even make a headline anymore when there's shootings at schools. It's like the fourth or fifth mention on the news. And then how about this person who made $150 million last week off of insider trading? That's the largest single incident of that kind in the history of stock market trading. Didn't even last one news cycle. It had to have been someone with direct contact with the president. Maybe the president himself decided to manipulate the market. Probably someone in his innermost circle, a family member, said, oh, you're about to go out and make a post that's going to make the stock market and the oil prices change like this. Let me go place my insider trading bet so that I can profit off it. Wow. Maybe it was just one of his friends like Roger Stone or Steve Bannon. Whatever it was, the people in the federal government who were responsible for looking into this stuff, all those people were fired when Trump first came into office. Yikes. So there are many reforms that need to be made to our form of government. If it's true that Delta Airlines and TMZ jointly brought enough shame to members of Congress in the Senate to cause them to cave in and pass the DHS funding bill last week, then that strategy, coupled with my bipartisan trio, should be effective on House members. But I would say the current obstacle in the House of Representatives is the Speaker of the President, Mike Johnson. We need to influence members of the House of Representatives to select someone who's going to be a Speaker of the House, not a Speaker of the President. Someone who's willing to do the will of the people, not the will of all the people who are funding members of Congress, because we, the people, are not actually funding Congress. Our contributions to campaigns are pitifully small. On my donation page there, I limit the maximum donation to just $200. If you wanted to donate more than that, then you're not understanding what my campaign is like. I suggested like $14. That's my calculation for gas money for me to go around. That's like halfway across this district and back to my home. And that's on gas prices that are still going up. All right. So there's so many changes that need to be made and reforms. I'm starting to realize, we need to fix more than just the United States. Russia invaded Ukraine. We could see them as being the bad guys. United States attacking Iran. The world sees us as the bad guys. And there's nothing that we're doing to correct that. There was a beautiful rocket launch yesterday, Artemis 2. It's on its way to loop once around the moon, hopefully after this next rocket burn. In the past, the world would have admired us and said, yes, this reinforces our understanding of what it means to be an American, a U.S. citizen. Today, I think they might be viewing the same activity with dread and fear that says, oh no, are they going to go and try to conquer outer space too? And, exploit the resources of outer space, not be concerned about humanity or the value of human life? I don't know what their reaction is this time around. 53 years ago, the Apollo missions were inspirational. Today, I don't know. But here's what I'm thinking. Why don't we try to save the whole world, not just the United States now? And for that, I'm thinking, my first thoughts were, okay, we have a United Nations. They've been rendered ineffective because the 5 powerful nations on the Security Council block any attempt at real peacemaking. What if we reform that? Seriously. The Secretary General of the United Nations is normally selected to serve a 5-year term. The United States is woefully down the list on Global Peace Index and Social Progress Index, 2 different organizations that rank how well governments are doing. The list I jotted down. So the Global Peace Index top 5 nations are Iceland, Ireland, New Zealand, Austria, and Switzerland. For the Social Progress Index, their top 5 nations are Norway, Denmark, Finland, Sweden, and once again, Switzerland. Maybe we should let the world have the most socially progressive, highest ranked nations serve on the Security Council. And every 5 years, whatever the new rankings come out, new nations will come in. That was my first thought. And then I see on the Social Progress Index, I think, they actually break it up into different tiers. So the United States is very far down as far as Global Peace Index goes. And I think we're 32nd place in Social Progress Index, which is different measurements. But they have different tiers. Maybe the same way that teachers bring together groups of different skill sets when forming a group in a classroom, where we have the high achieving student, 3 mid achieving students, 1 low achieving student brought together as a team to work together on a project. Maybe we should have tiers like that to select who should be on the Security Council of the United Nations for that 5-year term. This is food for thought. It doesn't make any significant difference what I personally think. What I want to do is I go walking around, driving around throughout this district. I want to talk with people, sit down at the kitchen table and pick their brains and work out a plan. Maybe, a civilian version of a constitutional convention, and say, okay, we recognize there are so many changes that need to be made with the United States federal government as it is right now. What would be a clean slate? That's my food for thought. That's what you would be funding if you contribute to my campaign. Some odds and ends like I could use some new business cards because the old ones don't actually even list the information they should be listing. Gas money, little things like that. And I really do need help on this idea of a campaign. We have to file our quarterly reports. I've never done one before. If you have any experience, you want to get involved, please do. We did astronomy night this past Monday over at Cerritos Public Library. It was heartwarming to hear people saying, I'll vote for you. They're not in District 42, but it was nice. It was mostly, former students and such. So I'm making a difference. I'm trying to reach out, communicate with people. I could use some help in the mechanics of doing this. It's not intended to be, oh man, I'm going to crush the opposition and get voted into Congress this term. The current representative is Robert Garcia, a Democrat out of Long Beach, but now that includes this part of Orange County. I have no expectation of overcoming his standing on this cycle, but I am trying to learn how to make a difference, and I don't feel like just turning the channel when the news comes on at night because I can't bear to see what's happening to our country. All right, that's it for now. For those of you who are so inclined, happy Easter, happy Passover. All right, bye for now.